I must warn you ahead of time before we get into this. Ben Shapiro. There he is. He's looking hairier by the day. He's looking fuzzy. He's a real man. So Ben Shapiro from the failing Daily Wire is here to tell us that Tucker Carlson sabotaged America. And he's mad at this, like, weird anti-Semitic, far-right fascist wing that he has helped usher in. And he is suddenly like, guys, when you eat my face, I don't like it. Stop gnawing on my supple Shapiro cheeks. And they're just saying anti-Semitic shit. Love it. That's just what's happening now. So this is a super long video. This is 41 minutes. I'm gonna play this at 1.5 speed. I know Ben talks fast already, but we're just gonna go for it because there's just no reason. There's just no reason to deal with this in real time. Okay, we're gonna make this efficient. We're gonna have a good time. All right. We're gonna put this maybe behind his laptop so we can read it better.
So I want to do something different on today's show. We're going to cover one topic in depth. That topic is, I think, the most important thing happening in the country. It was a hot topic last week, but I wanted to take some time to really gather my thoughts and speak on it in coherent fashion, holistic fashion.
Dude, playing it at 1.5 makes him feel like an AI Ben Shapiro, but that's okay.
That topic is the fragmentation of the political right. That fragmentation is being caused purposefully by a splinter faction of people led by a young man named Nick Fuentes.
Nick Fuentes. He is in the crosshairs of Ben Shapiro. Better watch out.
They call themselves the Groypers. They are white supremacists. They hate women, Jews, Hindus, many types of Christians, brown people of a wide variety of backgrounds, blacks, America's foreign policy, and America's Constitution.
You fucking do. You align with like 90% of that stuff except for the Jews part. Come on. Stop it. Especially people like Matt Walsh.
They admire Hitler and Stalin. And that splinter faction is now being facilitated and normalized.
And Stalin?
Within the mainstream Republican Party.
Did you add the and Stalin
Tucker
thing?
Tucker Carlson said I'm a weird gay kid in the basement.
The Stalin thing is very fascinating.
The main agent in that normalization is Tucker Carlson, who is an intellectual coward, a dishonest interlocutor, and a terrible friend.
And a terrible friend? Oh, no! Oh, I didn't know this was a drama video. Oh, God, the tea. Ben, go on. Don't let me stop you.
Tucker Carlson last week was aided, abetted, celebrated for normalizing Nazism within the Republican Party by the mainstay organization of the traditional right, the Heritage Foundation. Now, before we explain what's been happening, let's make one thing clear. This is not about free speech or cancellation. It was never about free speech or cancellation. Free speech has a definition: the right to speak free of governmental coercion.
Uh-oh. The Nazis are running away with power I gave them.
I believe in it, of course. I've always defended it. Criticism of bad speech is, in fact, just a form of free speech. Cancellation also has a definition: the banning of particular people, including people like Nick Fuentes, from platforms like X or Facebook. I believe that Nick Fuentes is odious and despicable, but I've never called for his cancellation, and in fact, I've called for his restoration to those services, despite the fact that I think he's odious and despicable. It is not cancellation to draw moral lines between viewpoints. In fact, we used to call that one of the key aspects of conservatism. It is not cancellation to refuse to signal boost Hitler's supporters like Nick Fuentes.
Oh my God. They are screaming, blue-haired, tone policing, infighting SJW liberals. Oh, it's so funny. It's the same thing as always. Benjamin. You thought you could get away from it. The unshittification. Everyone settles towards shitty, feckless, money-obsessed grifters. They can't even be purely fascist anymore.
It is not cancellation to criticize Tucker Carlson for rhetorically fluffing Nick Fuentes and other anti-American crackpots.
Fluffing
it's not cancellation if you urge
fluffing him is definitely intentional.
Others to stop promoting those who rhetorically fluff Nazi apologists. Those are all elements of free speech. And anyone who says differently is lying to you, and lying for the most cynical reasons, to misdirect from their own defense of those Nazi apologists and their promoters. The issue here...
So you're calling people Nazis now. Look at this, man. Well, not really. Nazi apologists, but I mean, what's the difference? Come on, Ben. Oh, my, you just call everybody Nazis. This is fucking glorious.
There isn't that Tucker Carlson had Nick Fuentes on his show last week. He has every right to do that, of course. The issue here is that Tucker Carlson decided to normalize and fluff Nick Fuentes, and that the Heritage Foundation...
Normalize and fluff Nick Fuentes? So now it's an issue of platforming? Ben Shapiro has gone woke, guys. They're having platforming disagreements. Inter-creator right-wing platforming disagreements. Guys, I don't think it's responsible for Tucker Carlson to platform Nick Fuentes. This is so fucking stupid. Oh, I love it. Is Ben being called woke now? Right-wing pod wars, just debate him, get back to work, just debate Debate Nick Fuentes? That'd be hilarious. He's not going to do it because he doesn't want to platform him, right?
Nation then decided to robustly defend that performance. Those who criticize both Tucker and Heritage aren't canceling. They are quite properly drawing a moral line. So, for those who don't understand what's going on, let's begin with Nick Fuentes. Now, as I mentioned, last week, Tucker Carlson had on Nick Fuentes. Fuentes is a 27-year-old man who's dubbed himself the leader of a movement called the Groypers. He has a large audience of alienated young white men in particular, and he's earned increased media attention over the course of the past few years, especially over the last year.
He literally spent time with Trump. How is he just going to ignore all that?
Now, from Tucker Carlson's interview, you might have gathered that Fuentes has some borderline views on race, a peculiar obsession with what he calls organized Jewry, and a rather sad relationship with the female sex. But probably you came away thinking that, for the most part, Fuentes lives on the radical edge of normality. You think that if you watch the interview, because Tucker Carlson decided that it was important not only to host Fuentes, but to smooth over his views, water them down, and make them far more palatable to a normal audience.
That's what Tucker Carlson has always done for right-wingers. He's literally doing the same thing as always. You should have this criticism of yourself and of Fox News. What, man? Yeah, I can't believe that we have fostered these far-right fascist freaks, and suddenly we have popular anti-Semitism talking about the organized Jewry. Yeah. Of course you do! You fostered this! People have been saying, like, oh, this is anti-Semitic, and then he will go like, no, it's not, and then, like, here it is.
As we'll discuss in a bit, this is what Tucker Carlson does for a living. But back to Nick Fuentes. To understand just what Tucker did here, we must actually examine what Nick Fuentes says on his show, and has said for almost a decade, because he was asked precisely 0 questions about any of what you're about to see by Tucker Carlson.
I love that you're just agreeing with the left. He's just agreeing with us.
Nick Fuentes says women want to be raped.
A lot of women want to be raped. And when I say raped, I mean like, that sounds bad when I say it like that. But there's like a lot of women that really want a guy to beat the shit out of them. But also they have to pretend, but part of it is they have to pretend like they don't.
Nick Fuentes says,
What the fuck? I think this is a virgin trying to understand, like, maybe kink, but I think he's just a misogynist freak. I think it's just 4chan stuff. He doesn't know anything.
that his followers should kill, rape, and die in his name.
I'm loving that Ben Shapiro is like, here's the clip show of Nick Fuentes being a bag of shit.
Raise your right hand. All right, everybody raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes.
So when we were mad about this, it was like, oh, the woke lefties and their outrage mob. The outrageous woke lefties when this happened years ago. Now Ben Shapiro's like, guys, I don't like this.
Nick Fuentes says that women are whores who shouldn't be in politics.
Yes.
I will continue my crusade against women in politics. Because it's always like this, and it's so ironic. Women are like, I don't like, when you say, you have to affect the face. When you say to repeal the 19th Amendment, that offends me. That hurts my feelings. It's like, have you ever stopped and considered that maybe if you get offended, there's such a strong emotional reaction to political opinions you disagree with across the board. Maybe that's one of the reasons why you shouldn't be making political decisions. I'm not attacking women. I'm attacking whores. You have no problems, right? I'm attacking whores. I'm attacking sluts, stupid, dirty bitches.
Nick Fuentes?
So I think we should just not give men the right to vote until they are proven innocent. You have to make it to 25 without harming someone. Come on the other side, you get to vote.
Says that Jim Crow was actually better for black people.
It was better for them too, number one, but number two, who cares? Who cares? Enough with the Jim Crow stuff. Who cares? Oh, to drink out of a different water.
Okay, so Ben Shapiro's like, conservatives agree that Jim Crow was bad? Like, what? There are people in the fucking administration. Like, this is just Stephen Miller.
Fountain. Big fucking deal. Oh no, they had to go to a different school. Their water fountain in that famous picture was worse. Who cares?
Charlie Kirk had this take. Charlie Kirk had the exact same take. The difference is Charlie Kirk went outside.
Grow up, drink out of the fucking water fountain. It's just water. It's the same. And even if it was bad, who cares? Who cares? It's better. It's better in general. We all agree it was better for them. It's better for us. It's better in general.
Nick Fuentes says that white people are justified in being racist.
Dude, so Ben Shapiro's critique of Tucker Carlson, who I fucking think sucks, Ben's critique of Tucker was, you are platforming him without pushing back. What you have just done is run like a 3-minute clip show back to back to back to back to back, where you're just showing clips of you introducing him saying stuff with like a vague tone of disapproval, but like not pushing back on it. And so for someone to clip this and put it on the internet, it would just kind of look like Nick Fuentes is saying things like you are clipping him, like you're platforming him in a way that is akin to Tucker Carlson. It's not different. I know later on you're going to go to do that, but the attention span of people nowadays, the way you're doing that, you're responsible. But I mean, it's Ben Shapiro. He don't care.
Reason that we talk about this, by the way, I know a lot of black people see this and they go, man, why are you always talking about black people, this and that? Because there just needs to be some shame here. Well, there's a few reasons. First, white people are every single bit justified in being racist.
I mean, I guess I think that every single person who thinks Nick Fuentes should feel uncomfortable in public is justified, personally.
Every single bit justified, to the extent that that means going out of your way to avoid black people when you see them.
Nick Fuentes is a Hitler admirer and a Holocaust denier.
Buddy, it's Führer Friday. It is Hitler Friday. Shut up. It is Heil Hitler Friday, Nick. Heil Hitler.
Wow, whoa, Ben!
All my niggas Nazis. Hitler was a pedophile.
I think that was lyrics, probably.
And kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool. So, you know, time to grow up. We're not children anymore. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right, boys? Am I right? Let's go. He was also really fucking cool.
Just a sizzle reel of him saying all this with no pushback from Ben. Like, just light disapproval.
Doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there. The math doesn't quite seem to add up there. I don't think you'd result in 6 million. Maybe 200 to 300,000 cookies, and I think the Red Cookie Association said something like that, probably 200 to 300,000 cookies baked, probably. And in addition, you know, in this hypothetical, I imagine if you took aerial photos.
Hey, so he's just been saying this for a bit, and you're just saying something now, Ben, huh? Yeah, I mean, it's years. This is like 5-6 years old. Leftists and even liberals have been like, this guy's fucking dog shit. He should not be allowed to profit off of speech like this, in my opinion. 8 minutes of this, and Ben is just literally introducing these like they're Oscar contestants.
And once again, remember who is responsible for it all. The Jews. They are responsible for every war in the world. It's not even debatable at this point.
Every single war? You know, when your anti-Semitism is just like, that's the Jews, like, not useful. Not a useful belief system. How about we just give Israel its rightful admonishment when it does something wrong, and maybe not the Jews. That's the only thing you had to do to not be anti-Semitic. I know Nick doesn't care, but just for everybody else, you can definitely be like, I think Israel is bad. I think Israel is an unethical state, an apartheid state that's doing a genocide. And you don't have to think that like just the Jews are doing it, because that's not what's going on.
This has nothing to do with oil. This has nothing to do with democracy. This has nothing to do with liberal internationalism. We are at war with Iran because they pose a threat to Israel's hegemony. That's why we're bombing their nukes, to pave the way for regime change so Israel can dominate the region, because that makes them the most powerful they can be.
Okay, but that's true, but that's why it's insidious, right? So he'll say, and I know he didn't clip before, but oftentimes the right wing, Charlie Kirk would do this kind of shit. Charlie Kirk would do this kind of shit where he would say something wrong, and then finish with something true, and then say something wrong, finish with something true. So that like it sounds credible that he's saying all this other actually anti-Semitic shit, where all the wars are caused by the Jews. Not true. The issue with Iran, when he was talking about it, which is a few months ago, definitely is to maintain Israel's status quo there and to proliferate their expansion, for sure.
An occult element.
The best lies have a grain of truth. A classic.
At the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews, so many of the people that are perpetrating the lies and the destruction on the country, they are evildoers. They are people that worship false gods. They are people that practice magic or rituals or whatever. And more than anything...
Magic or rituals? What? These people are fucking insane. Christianity is ruining the world. Every other religion is too, but Christianity is ruining the world. For real. These people are cooked.
Those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty. Straight up.
The Jews? Okay, so you can see how Ben Shapiro might think that sounds bad.
And I'm far more concerned about that than I am about even non-white people or mass migration. These people that are communing with demons and engaging in this sort of witchcraft and stuff, and these people that are suppressing the name Christ and suppressing Christianity, they must be absolutely annihilated when we take power.
I guess just anyone who's summoning demons. So if you're summoning demons, you better stop, because when Nick Fuentes takes power, you're up. The witches, the TikTok witches that got Charlie.
This is God's country. This is Jesus' country. This is not the domain of atheists or devil worshippers or perfidious Jews. This is Christ's country.
Atheists, of course. Devil worshippers or perfidious Jews. Perfidious. Trump said we can't go after any Christians, so Ben better watch out. You better.
Josh Hammer and Mark Levin. Fuck these people. Like, deeply, seriously, all real Americans, if you are a real American, if you were born in this country, I don't even care who you are, what you are, if you are a real American, that loves this country. You have generations in this country. Your family or you fought for this flag, fought for the Constitution, fought for our church, fought for our civilization.
Our church.
For all of you, I say about Josh Hammer and Mark Levin and Laura Loomer, fuck them. Fuck them. Deeply, seriously, get them the fuck out of our country.
Nick Fuentes, it should be mentioned, despises Donald Trump and the MAGA movement as well.
I just wish Ben would do any commentary whatsoever. There's none.
Fuck you. Fuck you. You suck. You are
This is literally just a highlight reel.
fat. You are a joke. You are stupid. You are not funny. You are not as smart as you think you are. You are, and honestly, and if you watch my show, you know I've been very critical. I've never been this far. This just goes to show this entire thing has been a scam. When we look back on the history of populism in America, we are going to look back on the MAGA movement as the biggest scam in American history. And
He's right about that, but not for the reasons he thinks. Because, yeah, he's definitely right about that. Definitely wrong about why. He can't show his math.
the liberals were right. The MAGA supporters were had. They were.
Definitely.
So, that right there is just a brief glimpse into the
Definitely, but the liberals are right. But the liberals weren't right. The leftists were right. So he's wrong. The liberals were definitely not correct.
twisted mind of Nick Fuentes. And there's plenty more where that came from, of course, hours of it per day, in fact. And there's no doubt that Nick Fuentes has a lot of play these days. That's because the left, by moving into a politics of anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-male identitarianism, created its
Anti-Christian? You're what?
bizarro mirror image.
You're a Jewish person. You are like explicitly rejecting Christianity in a way that I am not. You know? Just by professing Judaism in the face of the claim of the Messiah, right? Like, to a Christian, you should be much more offensive than I am. I know that's not really the case, but I don't even believe in any of your shits. I'm not having this argument.
pseudo-Christian incel identitarian movement dedicated to destroying the institutions of this country and replacing Americanism with something else. Nick Fuentes' philosophy is not fully formed. It's an incoherent stew of malignity. But that's where Tucker Carlson enters the story. Now, since
Ignorant stew of malignity?
his exit from Fox News in 2023, when, of course, he was a very, very popular host, Tucker Carlson has turned himself into a conspiracist and a crank and a pathological liar. Tucker excuses Vladimir Putin's murderous and barbarous reign. He has even become one of his most ardent defenders.
It is so much nicer than any city in my country. I had no idea. My father spent a lot of time there in the 80s when he worked for the US government and barely had electricity. And now it is so much cleaner and safer and prettier aesthetically. It's architecture, it's food, it's service than any country, city in the United States that you have to, and this is non-ideological. How did that happen? How did that happen? And at a certain point, I don't think the average person cares as much about abstractions as about the concrete reality of his life. And if you can't use your subway, for example, as many people are afraid to in New York City because it's too dangerous, you have to sort of wonder, like, isn't that the ultimate measure of leadership? And that's true, by the way, it's radicalizing for an American to go to Moscow, I didn't know that, I've learned it this week, to
He does love Russia.
Singapore, to Tokyo, to Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Because these cities, no matter how we're told they're run and on what principles they're run, are wonderful places to live.
No matter the slavery that causes them, they're wonderful places to live.
So I guess you put in 10 rubles here, and you get it back when you put the cart back.
It's like an Aldi.
So it's free, but there's an incentive to return it
Like an Aldi.
and not just bring it to your homeless encampment. I went from amused
Homeless encampment?
to legitimately angry. So we were guessing what this would cost. Everybody here from the United States buys groceries, and we didn't pay any attention to costs as we were just putting in the cart.
What it is incentive to return the cart. It's definitely worth so that they don't have to like staff the cart returners at Aldi so they can keep prices down. So if you want a shopping cart, you can go to a place that isn't Aldi to get them, or you could just take the 10 cent or 25 cent cart. Right? You know what I mean?
We would actually eat over a week. And,
People don't always return them. It's just an incentive.
and we all came in around $400, about $400. It was $104 US here. And that's when you start to realize that ideology maybe doesn't matter as much as you thought, corruption. If you take people's standard of living and you tank it through filth and crime and inflation, and they literally can't buy the groceries they want, at that point, maybe it matters less what you say or whether you're a good person or a bad person. You're wrecking people's lives in their country, and that's what our leaders have done to us.
When Tucker Carlson interviewed Vladimir
Wasn't that literally an anti-Biden thing?
Putin, by the way, Vladimir Putin was so amused by Tucker Carlson's easy questioning that he actually mocked him. Tucker Carlson has massaged the Iranian dictatorship and admitted to not asking any difficult questions of the presidents of that dictatorship.
The interview is limited by a couple of factors. One, it was done by remote through a translator. That's always awkward. For another, I don't speak Persian. And there are all kinds of questions that I didn't ask the president of Iran, particularly questions to which I knew
Isn't that the same thing?
I could not get an honest answer, such as, was your nuclear program totally disabled by the bombing campaign by the U.S. government a week and a half ago? There's no chance he's going to answer that question honestly. I didn't bother to ask it. The answer, in fact, from an American perspective, even from the CIA's
I
perspective,
didn't bother to ask the most pertinent question.
is unknowable.
Tucker bizarrely worships at the altar of Qatar.
They're mad at you because you
Well, that's a slave state. They love that shit.
don't put your parents in some institution. Maybe they're trying to break up your families.
Well, it can be a reason. Honestly, I don't know what is really the purpose behind this, but we see that a lot of things that are happening are attacks on humanity in general. It's when you lose the family value, when you lose the connection between the family themselves, you will lose the connection between the people as well, on a broader level, on the people in the same neighborhood, on the people in the same region, in the same countries. And that's basically will just make us, as individuals who are, quote unquote, independent from anyone. That's what we will feel. Yet it will just make our societies vulnerable and easy to be penetrated.
That's right.
Tucker Carlson praises Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, even
All these fascists.
as Maduro keeps the entire country in communist penury and ships fentanyl into the United States to kill Americans by the hundreds of thousands.
Why are we so opposed to Nicolas Maduro? So if you ask someone on the street, random person, why are we against Nicolas Maduro? The answer you're going to get is, who's Nicolas Maduro? But if you find someone in South Florida, for example, who knows who Nicolas Maduro is, who can identify where Venezuela is on a map, that person will almost certainly say, well, because he's a communist or a socialist. He's exceedingly left-wing, and that is true. Nicolas Maduro and his government are very left-wing on economics, not on social policy, by the way, which is kind of interesting. In Venezuela, gay marriage is banned, abortion is banned, sex changes for transgenderism are banned. It's one
So not based.
of the very few countries in the entire hemisphere with those policies. It is on social policy, not defending the regime, just saying, one of the most conservative countries in North or South or Central America. Only El Salvador really comes close.
Okay. So I disagree with them.
Carlson glosses Hamas, the genocidal jihadi group behind October 7th, as a political organization.
You can't claim that they're in Hamas while simultaneously claiming that Hamas is a group of jihadis. They're Islamic extremists, which they also claim constantly. Which I don't know if that's true, by the way. It seems more like a political organization. But whatever it is, they're telling us constantly they're Al-Qaeda.
Tucker Carlson has
I mean, I think Hamas can be generally right-wing relative to the politics of like the PLO, for instance.
attacked President Trump as a cover-up artist for sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein on behalf.
I mean, I don't necessarily disagree with the cross messaging is always how fascist regimes work, where Hamas is, they're worthless rats that don't do anything, and they're also like the most powerful fucking force of super soldiers. They're distinctly not a jihadi movement. That's true, yeah. I mean, they can't tell the difference between those things.
Of Israel and Mossad, making sure, of course, never to mention President Trump's name, because, of course, Tucker's a coward.
And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that.
Tucker Carlson has stated that President Trump has undermined America First and MAGA by attacking Iran, giving in to neocon ghouls like Mark Levin, while also idiotically arguing that President Trump striking Iran's nuclear facilities would lead to World War III.
Well, I definitely agree that it's stupid.
Spoiler alert, it didn't. Tucker Carlson also said in his interview with Nick Fuentes that the people he hates most in the entire world, more than ISIS, Al-Qaeda, trans-Tifa, Marxists, rapists, murderers,
Trans-Tifa?
are Christian Zionists who represent an enormous chunk of the conservative base. According to Tucker Carlson, who admits that he first read the Bible all the way through just 2 years ago, Christians who support a Jewish state of Israel are heretics and blasphemers with a brain virus.
How do you explain Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz, and there are a lot like that, John Bolton. I mean, I've known them all, George W. Bush, like Karl Rove. I mean, all people I know personally who I have seen be seized by this brain virus, and they're not Jewish. Most of them are self-described Christians, and then the Christian Zionists who are, well, Christian Zionists. Like, what is that? Right. And I could just say for myself, I dislike them more than anybody, because what? Because it's Christian heresy, and I'm offended by that as a Christian.
Tucker Carlson.
We're 20 minutes into this, and Ben Shapiro is still just playing highlight clips of both of them talking borderline unopposed. The Christians are weird.
Carlson has said that he despises American Jews who care about October 7th. We, in his words, don't care about America and also want to get his kids killed in a foreign war.
I've got 4 draft-age children. So if you're playing recklessly, fast and loose with their lives, then I have a right to despise you, and I do. So if you're Nikki Haley who's running for president, or Ben Shapiro, or half the people I see on television casually mentioning
Oh, is this why he mentioned you?
the possibility of nuclear war, or sending Americans to fight in the Middle East, or in any way involving us in a war that has nothing to do with prosperity and peace at home, nothing in other words to do with us, Americans, then I have a right to call you out and be really offended because it's my family. They live here. It's not a joke to me. There's nothing abstract about it.
But most of all,
I like the implication that Ben Shapiro's like, you should really, really, really want Zionism.
Carlson acts as an ideological launderer for other people's evils. Tucker Carlson says many inflammatory things, always buying back just enough of it to appear as though he's not saying what he's clearly saying. He's a master of gaslighting. Tucker Carlson.
Well, yeah. Why is Ben Shapiro just now mentioning all of this shit? Because it was politically expedient for him not to earlier. And now it's maybe the reverse? Who knows?
Carlson, for example, would never say out loud what Nick Fuentes does. He wouldn't say the things many of his guests say. And so instead, he acts as an ideological launderer. He takes other people's hideous ideas, he softens them, he treats them with love and care, and then
always has.
And he provides them with a massive signal boost. He isn't merely talking to people in good faith, of course. He's promoting certain people and ideas.
This is like Joe Rogan, but if he was insidious and not just an idiot.
And attacking others. So, for example, he'll ask a series of wildly obsequious questions to Nick Fuentes. He'll even let Nick Fuentes' support for Joseph Stalin slide.
It's actually funny. It was December 18th. I remember it as that's an important date to me. And it's Joseph Stalin's birthday. Oh, I'm a fan.
You're a fan of Stalin's?
Mm-hmm. Always an admirer. But we don't need to go into that, I guess.
Let's get back to this. We'll circle back to that.
but he will grill Ted Cruz about the population of Iran.
What does he like about Stalin? Murderer?
Tucker Carlson will have on Vladimir Putin's evil, anti-American mouthpiece, Alexander Dugin, and then praise him.
Alexander Dugin is a 62-year-old Russian academic philosopher. He spent his life in Moscow. He was an anti-Soviet dissident as a young man. And now he is famous the world over, in the English language press anyway, as, quote, Putin's brain. But he is not a political figure here in Russia. He is, once again, a philosopher. And his ideas are deeply offensive to some people. In August of 2022, his only daughter was murdered in Moscow when a car bomb killed her. U.S. intelligence says she was murdered by the Ukrainian government, and we take that at face value. But what's interesting is that, once again, Alexander Dugin is not a military leader. He's not a close daily advisor to Vladimir Putin. He is a writer who writes about big ideas. And for this, his books have been banned by the Biden administration in the United States. You cannot buy them on Amazon, banning books in the United States because the ideas inside are too dangerous. He's often described, again, in the English language press as far right. We'll let you assess. But we wanted to talk to him about some of his ideas, these ideas that are so dangerous that his only daughter was murdered over them, and his book's been banned in the United States.
Probably the Stalin killed most of the doctors who were largely Jewish? Oh, probably. Probably anti-Semitism.
Carlson will have on a Hitler-friendly pseudo-historian to minimize the Holocaust and blame Winston Churchill for World War II, and he will call him America's best and most honest historian.
I thought Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War. He didn't kill the most people. He didn't commit the most atrocities. But I believe, and I think when you really get into it and tell the story right and don't leave anything out, you see that he was primarily responsible for that war becoming what it did, becoming something other than an invasion of Poland. You know, Germany, look, they put themselves into a position, and Adolf Hitler's chiefly responsible for this, but his whole regime is responsible for it, that when they went into the East in 1941, they launched a war where they were completely unprepared to deal with the millions and millions of prisoners of war, of local political prisoners and so forth that they were going to have to handle. They went in with no plan for that. And they just threw these people into camps, and millions of people ended up dead there.
And that is the pseudo-historian that Tucker Carlson has said is the best and most honest historian in America. Tucker Carlson.
So he thinks the camps were incidental? What a freak. Trying to launder that. It wasn't a genocide. It was just mismanagement.
We'll have on over and over a pro-Chinese propagandist who used global warming to promote global socialism, all in order to criticize Israel and hug China.
Because he's a Nazi, LaCroix boy.
Israel has run American foreign policy in the Middle East for 30 years.
That's true.
That's how it works. This is actually the truth. If we drop our angst on big bad Russia, actually, we didn't have a chance to talk about it this time. Maybe another time, big bad.
They both love fucking Russia, though.
China, which is also not going to invade the United States, not going to threaten us, not going to go to war with us. They're trying to deal with aging, and they've got their declining population and many other things. Not that they're falling apart. It's a very impressive civilization, but they're not a threat to the United States, honestly. And Iran is not a threat.
Tucker Carlson, of course, brings on pro-Hamas voices episode after episode after episode. The instances are almost
pro-Hamas voices?
Limitless. Tucker Carlson will host Andrew Tate, a pornographer and scam artist who mocks rape victims and preaches a cult of narcissism and cruelty. And of course, Tucker Carlson will glorify him and present him as a maligned truth teller rather than an emblem of moral rot. See,
everybody you hate is on here.
This is how Tucker Carlson's ideological laundering works.
You know what I think is interesting? Ben Shapiro has not done a mid-roll for this at all. This is pure hater stuff. He's not even in it for the clicks.
Bring your dirty, ugly ideologies to Tucker Carlson's rhetorical car wash. He mixes it with some of the vestigial respect Americans have for him from his Fox News days, and voila.
Vestigial respect.
Hideous ideas suddenly become mainstream. And then, of course, Tucker denies he said anything controversial at all. He was just asking questions. He was just interviewing people. You don't want him to cancel people, do you? Of course, there is no First Amendment right to a Tucker Carlson sensual massage. But to listen to Tucker, you'd...
A Tucker Carlson sensual massage? What?
Think there was, so long as you despise America, oppose President Trump's foreign policy, and bear a peculiar dislike of Jews. Tucker Carlson, you see, is a coward. And here is where his relationship with Nick Fuentes begins. With Nick Fuentes correctly pointing out that Tucker Carlson is a coward. You see, Tucker Carlson, a few weeks back, had on Candace Owens to treat her to his usual ideological laundering services.
Oh, yeah, because we're all fighting. We're also fighting Candace Owens. Wow, very fascinating. Really, the fracture is who's a Nazi and who isn't. And Ben is just not a Nazi because he's Jewish. Jewish is not a Ben because he's Nazi is the words that we're going to come out with. Those are all jumbled. Jewish is not a Ben, but a Ben is Jewish.
That's after years of Candace Owens saying things like this.
And it is the case that dinosaur bones, for whatever reason, are always just found by the paleontologist. Like, it's not like you and me walking outside. I'm like, hey, a dinosaur bone. And, or...
You don't believe in dinosaur bone? No! She's so stupid, bro.
By somebody who's related to a paleontologist. It's very strange. And then, but it was just convenient for Israel that JFK got shot. It was just convenient, you guys. Totally convenient. It was convenient for Israel, by the way, when the towers went down. I just want to be clear. Anything happens to me, blame the Zionists. Like 1,000% blame the Zionists. Like let that be my parting word. I'm waking people up to the fact that pedophiles are in power. Yes. They are literally in power. And that is intentional because then they can be controlled while they are in power. And they are also exhibiting signs of a psychopathology that lets them know that they will do harm to the masses and feel nothing because they were themselves, many of them, raped when they were children. Yep. It's not a coincidence that Justin Trudeau is gay. Obama, gay.
Oh my God, dude. She's addled.
Zelensky, gay. Emmanuel Macron, gay and married to a trans man who molested him when he was a child.
Well, Candace Owens had recently
Wow, there's a lot to take in.
hosted Nick Fuentes, and this led Tucker Carlson, in an attempt to dissociate from Fuentes, to label him a weird little gay kid.
I'm dissociating too.
Operating from a basement and a Fed as well.
That's obvious to me. I've been around a long time. I know it when I see it.
Yeah, and I will say I don't understand it. We were very kind to him. Like, I truly, like, we almost said, like, we felt maybe he was a bit lonely. We should invite him back for dinner. I mean, that's how good of an experience I had.
Clearly it's
and then
sad.
it was a 180. So it's either A, it's being driven from, like, a little boy insecurity, and he just was so worried that he, like, just went on the attack because he doesn't know how to have normal relations after being banned everywhere.
Well, I think there's
that could be one element.
the angry gay
Or-
kid thing going on. Yeah.
The angry gay kid thing going on.
Nick Fuentes did not take kindly to this. After all, here was Tucker Carlson, a man Nick Fuentes correctly sees as a fellow traveler, dismissing him.
As a fellow traveler? Ben. That's kind of funny, too. This is Ben's best work. When he's sipping haterade, best stuff. See, he's inspired. See, Ben? You've said 2 funny things in 28 minutes. You're capable of it. We just need to pare that down. What if we had that clip every 14 minutes and then every 7 minutes? Suddenly, pace is cooking.
All the while refusing to say the sorts of things for which Fuentes takes slings and arrows. And so Fuentes unleashed on him as a fraud and also as an expert on gaslighting.
Tucker is like the goat of gaslighting. But unironically, he goes up at the memorial and said Charlie Kirk told the truth. You know who else told the truth? Jesus. And you know what happened? He got killed by Jews. And people said, so are you saying that the Jews killed Charlie Kirk in the way that they killed Jesus for telling the truth because they hate the truth? And Tucker said, I never said that. You're crazy. I never said that. Everyone eats hummus. What do you mean everyone runs Jerusalem? But I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Tucker Carlson says, I have so many trust funds, I never have to work. Tucker went to a $45,000 per year private high school, then a $45,000 per year selective Ivy League school in New England. Tucker Carlson's daddy was a Reagan appointee. And then, after years of bragging about being an elite, bragging about being so out of touch and so rich, now he's going to be the spokesperson for all the white people. Now he's going to roll up his sleeves. I just like to hunt and fish in my log cabin. I care about Klarna and credit card debt. But then when it comes to me, I'm one of the real disaffected white people.
Shut the fuck up. No, you're not. You're not either. Shut up. You're just an incel.
You want to talk about me and them? I am them.
Well, there was one big problem for Tucker Carlson in all of this. Nick Fuentes is absolutely 100% correct. Tucker is a coward, and Tucker's audience, much of which he shares with Nick Fuentes, knows it. And so Tucker hit upon a final stratagem. He let Nick Fuentes cuck him. He
let Nick Fuentes cuck him? Oh, no.
Nick Fuentes on to legitimate his ideology. He signal boosted Fuentes, glossed him, shined him, presented him to the world, all in order to protect his own reputation with his online base. A base he is competing over with Nick Fuentes. Now, of course, Tucker has a right to do all of this for the 100th time. He can do what he likes. This is America. But there's no question that Tucker has become the most virulent super spreader of vile ideas in America. And the rest of us...
Vile idea super spreader. Tucker? I mean, he's one of many.
Who oppose those vile ideas have every right to call him that. There's one other element here that's even darker if possible. Tucker Carlson preys on the friendship he proclaims with others. And then he knifes them directly between the shoulder blades when convenient for him.
Oh, no! The third gay kid, Ben Shapiro, a fellow traveler as well, left behind. He wants to be part of it. A throuple maybe, but he's not. He's left out. Feels bad, dude.
Tucker Carlson is, in short, a terrible friend. Tucker Carlson was supposedly Charlie Kirk's friend. Charlie believed that Nick Fuentes was vermin. That's a direct quote. He believed that because Nick Fuentes dedicated his life to destroying Charlie Kirk and TP USA from the inside. In fact, here's Nick Fuentes describing Charlie Kirk the month before Charlie was murdered.
Charlie Kirk cannot call himself a Christian anymore. Sorry, you forfeited that. I do not want to hear, and you cannot allow Charlie Kirk to go to one more public event, one more question and answer, one more ask me anything, without being protested, without being shouted down, without being interrogated about this. This guy goes around from campus to campus in the most artificial and phony and fake way.
And here is Nick Fuentes describing how he destroyed TP USA from the inside.
Whether he chooses to confront me or not, whether he has dignity and honor or not, it's just a matter of time. My ideas are already there. I've already impregnated your organization. I took Turning Point USA and I fucked it. I took your organization, I took your baby, Turning Point USA, and I fucked it.
I think that's J.D. Vance now, fucking Charlie's wife.
And I've been fucking it. And that's why it's filled with groypers. That's why your whole crew, that's why the people around you, that's why your chapter presidents, that's why your attendees, they're all groypers.
And here's Nick Fuentes calling Charlie Kirk unpatriotic and talking about how he's a retarded idiot and saying all firepower should be focused on Charlie Kirk.
Wow.
I think a lot of people are starting to find out Charlie Kirk is not the patriot that he says he is. And so I look at what happened last night and I think to myself, this is totally a doable operation. You know, Charlie Kirk in the grand scheme of things is just some retarded idiot. The dog is terrified. I had to go upstairs and reassure him because I'm screaming at my screen, calling Charlie Kirk a bitch and everything. The contrast could not be more
literally in his mom's basement.
Clear. Charlie Kirk is a totally unexceptional human being. A moral struggle that's happening on the higher dimension, right? Which is Christ versus the devil. Who does Charlie... Charlie Kirk serve? You know, is he really a Christian? Is he really Christ-like when he supports foreign wars and Israel?
Dude, they're all fucking insane. Every single time you see a vile piece of shit, it's Christianity at the core of it. Zionism is also very close to it.
Israel and all this.
All religion is.
Look at the people he's taking money from. You know, so the guy's a fake Christian. The guy's not a patriot. He hates our country. He's un-American. Let's focus all our firepower on Charlie Kirk. Why are we doing this? It's because Charlie Kirk is a fake patriot, a fake Christian, and he hates his people. He's anti-white. And this is...
Let's focus our firepower on him. Kash Patel, lock in.
It's our angle.
Nick Fuentes despised Charlie Kirk.
His eyes laser focus.
And for good reason, because Charlie Kirk actually opposed Nick's evil program. Here's what Charlie Kirk had to say about Nick Fuentes' agenda.
But if you go back to the original founding fathers, they intended this to be a European nation for white...
Oh, cool. We're going to play the Nazi clip. Does he call out Nick Fuentes specifically in this?
Men of good stock and character.
So, can you show me, let me answer the question. Can you show me where in the United States Constitution it says that?
It wasn't in the Constitution.
It wasn't in the Constitution because they didn't believe it. What does the phrase e pluribus unum mean? What does the phrase e pluribus unum mean?
Why is that relevant?
Because it was on every founding document and presidential seal from our founding, which means out of many, one. You, sir, and your ideology is not conservative. It is right-wing, identitarian. It has no place in the conservative movement, my friend. Get out of line. Get out of line.
Owned him, Charlie.
I don't...
So anyway, they had slavery. To some degree, I agree with the guy that was asking the question, and to some degree, I agree with Charlie Kirk because they're both stupid and don't know. The founding fathers were white landowning men, and they thought that class of people, white landowning men in that order, should be the people in charge. They didn't necessarily think it should be a Christian nation or anything. They were definitely deistic. Thomas Jefferson's ideal society was a white man with a family, a bunch of kids, a farm plot, and just spreading across America. Everyone has like a bunch of acres to themselves. That's what he thought should be the best. Obviously, with slaves himself using their labor to do it and robbing it from the people that already live there.
From trolls. And I don't platform and I don't discuss people or I don't debate with people that are not good faith actors. And
you debate Maoists and people who champion.
They can keep on yelling at how successful we are and our big events and well over 1,000 employees. But a lot of jealousy out there. We build, they complain. We succeed, we win. They blame the Jews.
Now, after Charlie's death, CPUSA made Tucker Carlson one of its chief faces. Tucker, of course, spoke at Charlie's memorial, where he implied that hummus-eating nefarious Jews killed Charlie, with no mention of the ideology of the actual alleged murderer, who was, of course, a trans activist gay furry. Tucker Carlson...
Yeah, none of them can get it right. Not a trans activist, not gay, not a furry. Just another disaffected kid from a conservative, gun-loving household.
In fact, has spent more
religious Mormons
time talking about Jews and Israel since Charlie's death than about the Trans-Tifa ideology that motivated Charlie Kirk's killer. By a long shot, it's not close, which is not a surprise, since he seems to spend very little time these days attacking anyone on the left. Well, now, Tucker Carlson has seen fit to launder Nick Fuentes, the person who hated Charlie most and who wished him destruction. That's not an act of friendship, it's an act of sick evil.
Who wished him destruction.
And then, of course, there's Tucker Carlson's relationship with the vice president. Certainly, Vice President Vance has been quite generous with Tucker Carlson. That loyalty was not reciprocated last week, to say the least. Here, for example, is what Nick Fuentes has said about J.D. Vance's wife, Usha.
Andrew Tate and Bronze Age pervert and all these people, for years, all they talk about is going to the gym, being a vitalist, fighting the Matrix, India smells bad, all this kind of shit. And now they're all in favor of a fat race mixer who's married to a Jew who named his son Vivek, who was mentored by a Jewish neocon and a gay Fed, Peter Thiel.
Wow.
This guy.
Wow. I definitely think that Nick protests too much. I think he doth, chat. This is clearly a little gay guy who likes cat boys. What is he? He's
guy has a non-white wife and a kid named Vivek. This guy is going to be a defender of white identity? I don't think so. This guy's going to defend
a defender of white identity. I just can't imagine, as a white, I can't imagine thinking about how white I am all the time and hoping that I can have some identity with that.
American identity?
You slammed J.D. Vance for having an Indian wife. Yet Trump's wife is an immigrant who was working here legally for a time. His son is half foreign, bilingual, and holds dual citizenship. Yet you give him a pass. You're a hypocrite, just retarded.
She's white! Dude, she's white!
You gave him $15 to say that?
White! If we had millions of Slovenian supermodels immigrating to America, I don't think we'd have a big problem with it.
Tucker Carlson had on Nick Fuentes and did not ask him a single question about any of this. He just brought him on to launder his ugly ideas and make him more popular. That doesn't seem quite like the act of a friend. Which, finally, brings us to the Heritage Foundation. Now, I have a long and admiring relationship with the Heritage Foundation. One of the very first outlets to pick up my syndicated column when I was 17 years old, 24 years ago, was townhall.com, then a property of the Heritage Foundation.
Yeah. Must be just so goddamn nice to be a Nepo baby. The Heritage Foundation Nazis. Total Nazis. Yeah, absolutely.
I know most of the leadership very well, and I have for decades. I know Kevin Roberts, and I like him, and I'm grateful for his contributions to the conservative movement. If you're a regular watcher of this show, you can check the interview I did with Kevin on the release of his book just last December, which is why what Kevin Roberts did last week is tragic and awful. He put out a statement that Heritage Foundation didn't just stand by Tucker Carlson. Kevin instead said openly and repeatedly that Tucker Carlson can do nothing, ever, that will sever his relationship with the conservative movement. He said that after and in defense of Tucker's glossing of Hitler defender Nick Fuentes. And he added that only...
Well, yeah, they're Nazis, Ben.
...members of the...
You are a useful idiot for the Nazis, Benjamin.
...globalist class, direct quote, a venomous coalition, direct quote, subject to the dictates of someone else's agenda, direct quote, oppose Heritage's ongoing relationship with Tucker Carlson, which means that according to Kevin Roberts, apparently, anyone opposing the ongoing mainstreaming of Tucker Carlson is acting on behalf of a foreign power.
Uh-oh.
Kevin's statement is a betrayal of the Heritage Foundation's history and principles, which is presumably why both Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes loved it. And that's a tragedy, because America needs a robust conservative organization based on principle and ideas, not personal loyalty to bad actors like Tucker Carlson.
Donald Trump is literally obsessed with only this, personal loyalty. That's the only thing he cares about. It's his only criteria. How can you say this is a bad quality to have when you agree with Donald Trump? When you advocate for him, you idiot.
We need strong leaders in the conservative movement, willing to speak out against the moral rot that threatens our future. I hope Kevin Roberts and Heritage show us that they can still be those leaders. But if not, we'll have to look elsewhere.
The moral rot that threatens our future. Everything is always so threatening.
So, why is all of this happening? Because, like the Democratic Party, the Republican Party is being eaten by its radicals. Many in the political class are too cowardly to stand up. Apparently, they're willing to play footsie with Groypers and hug Tucker Carlson out of fear of somehow losing support. They've been bamboozled by the lies of the X algorithm and the TikTok metrics. The left followed its radicals to electoral hell. Apparently, many on the right.
Electoral hell. Tomorrow, Zoran Mamdani is going to win a pretty effective and historic, trouncing, all-time election for New York City mayor. An open socialist. Our time is now, chat.
Right, wish to do the same. Forget the morality then, for just a moment. Let's be pragmatic. Here is the thing. Americans hate Nick Fuentes' philosophy. They think it's trash. Republicans, by the polling, think it's trash. Independents think it's trash. Democrats think it's trash. And here's the other thing. Americans hate Tucker Carlson's laundered anti-Americanism. Republicans think it's trash. Independents think it's trash. Democrats think it's trash. Americans are not pro-segregation, pro-rape, anti-woman, pro-child marriage, anti-black, anti-Jew, anti-Indian, anti-Latino, anti-Constitution, pro-Hitler nutjobs. Like,
I agree that most of Americans are not like this. There's a very decent chunk in America, I'd say 15 to 20%. This seems pretty much like you're describing, though. Pretty much forced onto the American people by Trump, Fox, and then the trickle down from that interaction into the right-wing spheres. I mean, you're literally part of it. You have caused the feast on your own face.
Nick Fuentes. Americans are not pro-Putin, pro-Iran, pro-China, pro-Venezuela, pro-Hamas, pro-Fuentes, pro-Tate idiots like Tucker Carlson. They hate this vile garbage. If Republicans decide to cower before the likes of neo-Nazis and their propagandizers, they deserve to lose. And they will lose. Neo-Nazis and their propagandizers are not Republicans. They're not America First. They're not MAGA. They sure as hell aren't conservative. These people aren't to my right. They're not attached in any way to the fundamental principles of conservatism. And these people have already declared themselves to be my enemies.
They are definitely to Ben's right, but only barely. What does he think the QAnon stuff was?
I'd be a fool not to take them seriously. If they get their way, they will hollow out the Republican Party, lead it to electoral catastrophe, and empty it, and the country of any semblance of decency in the process. My answer is no. No to the Groypers. No to their publicists like Tucker Carlson. No to those who champion them. No to demoralization. No to bigotry and anti-meritocratic horseshit. No to anti-Americanism. No. This is our country. This is our party. And this is our conservative movement. And I will not stand by while it is handed over to those who betray the most fundamental principles I've spent my entire life defending and advocating. That is a path to defeat and a path to moral oblivion. I reject it. Because if we lose the right, we will lose to the left. And either way, we'll lose the country. I'm Ben Shapiro. This is The Ben Shapiro Show.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think he's going to lose. I think the right in general is bound to lose at some point. It's just, the difficulty with which they make it take place. Ben Shapiro getting his fucking face eaten is hilarious. So he's surrounded by Nazis. He can't stand it. He's upset that everyone's a super far-right freak now. And he's like, wait, guys, I don't like this. If only he had been listening to the leftists for the last fucking 12 years. I guess that'd be too much to ask. What if you paid attention to the people that had the answers that you're coming to now? What if they had them a decade in advance? Wouldn't that be crazy? Subscribe so that you can be right 10 years in advance. That's what I offer you, okay? Everything I'm saying now will come true in 10 years' time because I'm right. I'm burdened by the truth. It's my cross to bear. Like Jesus, you could say.